The real thing is that, like, we have to start working out soon. Like, that's all the indicators in life to live a long life is like you gotta like move.
My problem is I've got two bad shoulders.
It's not a problem.
It is, because if I'm doing, like, I don't like to run on a treadmill. I'd want to play basketball, or I'd want to
Who likes doing that?
or play pickleball or something, something athletic. I don't like just running in place. I never did, never will.
I don't know who likes that. I mean, it's stuff
Runners?
You gotta
Runners?
face, and I don't even think runners like it.
Runners seem to get off on it.
No, they do. They get off on it because they're like doing something that other people aren't doing. But like, they don't.
I don't think it's like.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Runners only run out of spite. That's it. The only way people run is out of spite.
So every marathon is spite related.
Yes.
Every person
1,000%.
in a marathon is doing it out of spite.
Yeah, they're doing it because they think they're better than everybody else.
Okay, what about the Kenyans?
The Kenyans are running because they've ran their whole lives and they know how to do it.
Okay. I guess that's it's decided by you.
That's how we do things on Monday Night Conversations.
When you put your foot down, I've got to listen, and I it's okay.
Welcome back to Monday Night Conversations. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Macklin, and alongside me on this Google Meet screen, as always, is my dear friend and host, Matt John Thompson.
Happy Monday, everybody.
What an exciting show for everyone today, including us. I do want to say before we get into it, I've been doing a poor job at promoting the podcast at the top of the podcast. Been always doing it at the back end, but now at the top, I'm going to say subscribe and like the podcast. Go to our YouTube page. Subscribe to that YouTube page. The more of you that show us you like us, the more it makes us feel better and gets us on that road to the financial freedom we so desperately seek.
Yes, if we can make money off of talking to each other, it's kind of the dream. So make our dream come true.
There's no kind of about it, my man. That is the absolute dream. But thank you again. Follow, like, subscribe, listen. Now we got some good chunks for you today. First, we're going to start off with some NFL topics. We are coming off of the weekend. We do talk and like football a lot. I like it a lot. I want to start with Matt. The 49ers lost again. They're 1-2. The Rams beat them throwing to Tutu Atwell and the garbage man they picked up off the street. Like, they couldn't be more injured right now. And the Rams went in there and just beat their pants off.
I'm not sure there's anybody in the NFL outside of Minnesota and New England that's thrilled with their team right now.
Right.
There's none. The offense is way down. Passing numbers are in the toilet this year. Teams are just playing too high safeties to the point of, I mean, if you're watching the Browns game or even the Texans game, they are just it's horizontal passing every team all game long because they're completely taking away the middle of the field and the deep and the deep part of the field, and it's every game's kind of the same. You're not seeing high scoring games. You're seeing lower scoring games, lower passing numbers. You don't have good running backs anymore because all your good running backs are playing wide receiver and defensive back.
Right.
So
Malik Neighbors would 15, 20 years ago would have been the best running back in the league. Now he's the best receiver in the league.
Right. But the reality is Malik Neighbors as a running back probably could have been better. Who knows?
Yeah. No,
because
that's what I'm saying. Mike, did you hear last week that Mel Kiper Jr. literally proposed a banning of playing too high on defense?
Banning it.
Yeah, banning too high safeties on defense.
I mean, it changes everything, and the safeties now are so fast and so big and can cover so much ground that it literally takes away the deep ball from even the best of quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is throwing slants and swing passes and screens all game. They're
still the Chiefs are still scoring in the 20s. It's not like they're 3-0, but they've had like a mediocre offensive output so far.
That is mediocre. They've been mediocre.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they're putting out an offensive mediocre output.
Yeah, it's completely mediocre, and there's no signs of it improving necessarily because of the too high safety concept. But it allows those 5 to 10 yard plays to come way more consistently. So these two high teams aren't necessarily going to win games, but they're going to slow down the offenses, and it's not fun football to watch.
I want to talk about this topic like later in this segment, but I want to go back specifically to the 49ers losing again. They're 1-2, and we talked about them last week. I brought them up in the segment where we were like, are they okay or are they fine or should we be worried? And you almost like laughed it off, but you know, starting out 1-2 in the Super Bowl hangover, the Ayuk situation, the injuries. You know, I granted, we all believe in Shanahan, right? But like, are they fine? You know what I'm saying? This is a big deal.
They're probably fine. Like, let's be real. They lost a fluke game yesterday. That game gets played 30 times. I think they win 29 of them.
The Rams were down with almost 2 minutes left, and then came and scored a touchdown. Stopped the 49. The 49ers missed the field goal, and then they came and won the game on another touchdown. It's not nothing.
That team scoring touchdowns is the fluke part. You're going to see without Puka and without Kupp in the upcoming weeks that what they did yesterday is not a sustainable thing. That offense will not be able to function without those two receivers long term. And the fact that they did yesterday, I think, speaks more to luck than it does to really anything else other than, you know, maybe a little bit of, you know, McVay magic and a little bit of Stafford being, you know, just a good player.
Well, Stafford and McVay, I mean, that's literally what I was about to say. Is it comes down to them being really good at what both of them do. The 49ers do have a couple of weeks where they can sort of get right. They're playing at home against the Patriots and at home against the 49ers in the next 2 weeks. But, you know, after that, it's the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Bucks, Seahawks again, the Packers, the Bills. I mean, it's not, you know, they don't have an easy schedule coming up. They're going to be in a lot of tough games.
No, but look at the bright side. McCaffrey will be back when the majority of those games take place.
Yeah.
Purdy had nothing to do with them losing yesterday. He played.
No, Purdy was.
He played
good.
really well.
Yeah.
Ayuk's healthy and signed. Debo will be back. Again, they have injuries. There are problems. There's too much talent there for them not to win more games than they lose and make the playoffs. They're too good.
I hear you. It's just concern. I mean, you know, we thought they were going to be 2-1. They're 1-2. The Seahawks look really good.
Seahawks are good.
The Cardinals are feisty. I mean, they don't have a great record right now, but they've been looking pretty good. And you know, you just saw what the Rams beat them one of their games with nobody. So you got to think they're going to put up a good fight when they get their team back.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if the Cardinals' future's very bright. They have a few good players, yes, and they are playing a little bit above their heads, but Kyler Murray's at injury risk every single week. You take out Kyler Murray, you take out Marvin Harrison, or you take out, you know, Budda Baker from the defense, and that team literally collapses. It's like it's like the last. Each of those guys are like the Jenga piece you don't want to touch.
And even with Budda, the defense is you know, whatever.
Yeah, right. Budda's the heartbeat of it, but yeah, I agree with you. The Rams are fine. They have a good infrastructure there, and them winning a game is not surprising. What's surprising is that everyone thinks San Francisco just wants to run and think San Francisco losing is the same thing as the way Dallas looks, which
right.
I think is completely night and day. I think Dallas looks like a team that doesn't have a team that can play in the playoffs. Whereas
Matt, that's a perfect segue to our next topic. It's like you're reading the rundown.
I didn't read the rundown.
I know. Well, Dallas gets it's a perfect segue, and I apologize for interrupting you. That was a my B, but Dallas gets crushed again. They look horrible. They did come back at the end to save face, but they were never realistically in that game at all. You know,
that wasn't competitive football.
Except for a Ravens like letting off the gas, which they do every fucking week, which drives me crazy. But they just look. They can't stop the run. I mean, Lamar was at one point he was like 9 for 9 or something. It just, you know, they cannot stop anyone. And when they need to get going and they go in, we need to all-out pass mode, they can't get anything done early in the game. And it just seems to me McCarthy is toast. Dak is going to put up a ton of numbers because they're always behind, but otherwise they just don't look like any type of cohesive team.
I mean, look, I watched every second of that game yesterday, and you saw a defensive line that was getting pushed back every single play.
Yeah.
There was not – and I feel bad for Micah Parsons, who was literally all over the field creating havoc and, the only player that was even near the ball. But the defensive line's broken. The line, they've really not much at the linebacking core in the middle of the field. I don't know what I was
thought their secondary was going to be good this year.
I mean, against Lamar Jackson, it doesn't really get tested because Lamar Jackson stopped throwing the football down the field. The only place that his passing gets becomes a problem is for linebackers and defensive linemen because it's only screen
tackles.
It's only screen passes and breaking tackles. It's ridiculous. Unwatchable, the Lamar Jackson throwing the football. It's a huge issue. We don't want to talk about it right now because the Ravens won the game and everyone thinks the ship's righted. He did not make one amazing pass yesterday down the field. Not one.
No, it was a couple of busted plays and I gotta give it to Monken a little bit because there were people wide open. Now maybe that's just the Dallas defense, but we've been pretty hard on Monken recently, and he called passing plays where they were sitting in the zones where there was space and they were beating one-on-ones, and Lamar got him the ball. That being said, I mean the whole entire game was set by Derrick Henry and Lamar running the football. That was the entire game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And look, I'm okay, and they will win many, many games with that being their offensive dynamic. If you want to run the ball 35 times a game, that's cool. They'll win. I don't know how effective it's going to be in January against the Chiefs and teams like that because we just saw 2 weeks ago that doesn't really affect them.
Yeah, they couldn't really run the way they wanted to. I do think, though, that it was sort of a getting to know you process with Lamar and Derrick in that first game, and the running game will be better as the year goes on. And
I agree with that.
December and January is running the football season. So let's just for our sake, let's just hope that it gets better and maintains, and they both stay healthy. But yeah, getting back to Dallas, if they lose on Thursday to the Giants, the season's gone. I mean, it's done.
Yeah, and Jera always is against firing coaches in season, but a 1-3 Cowboys on a Thursday night loss to the Giants, that Friday is going to be brutal.
Yeah, there's going to be some shaking up going on at the very least, and at the very most, I do think that McCarthy could be gone if they lose.
I don't think it has anything to do with McCarthy. I mean, it's Jerry Jones putting a worse team on the field.
Yeah,
it's Jerry Jones not drafting a running back at any point in the draft when you have nothing. I understand the idea that you don't want to put a first-round pick on a running back, but there was other running backs to take. They don't have any functional back. It's crazy.
There was a notorious gluttony of running backs this offseason that were free agents, from Saquon to Swift to
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, exactly right. And we're not even mentioning Singletary.
Austin Eckler.
Eckler, right? Exactly. And they just were like, oh, let's bring Zeke back because he's been so good the last 3 years.
It's one of the more bizarre. The guy has been a zero for years now. I mean, what are they thinking that he's going to do that is going to make their football team better?
Getting back to the Jerry Jones point, it's been 35 years of him not taking accountability. He's still the GM. Him and his son are president and GM. They're not going to fire themselves, so McCarthy is going to go. He's got to go.
He does have to go, and I think he will, but the next coach is still going to be a yes man. The one thing that the Jimmy Johnson era proved is he doesn't want a coach that is going to lead the team. He refuses to have that. He wants to drive the car. So every coach is going to be beholden to him no matter what he says.
Right, exactly, because the Jimmy Johnson era ended in 1994.
Right, and they won one more year just because of the talent on that team, and that was it.
That Jimmy Johnson traded for, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gerard didn't make any of those trades. I will say he has proven to be a good talent evaluator. He found Dak in the fourth round. He found CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. I mean,
There are misses
Diggs,
too. Darren McFadden.
He's a good. Sure.
He was a top 10 pick.
The 2000s were bad, but I would have taken Derek McFadden that high too. He was so good in college.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. And he went to Arkansas, which is where Jerry went to, so he was like obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I get it.
Moving on. Is Malik Willis an NFL quarterback?
No.
So the question is Malik Willis an NFL quarterback, or is Matt LaFleur just that good? You're erring on the side of Matt LaFleur being that good.
I don't want to say he's not an NFL quarterback because obviously now, and good for him and his family, he's probably going to be in the league for 15 years as a backup.
Yep.
Ask Josh Johnson what's it like to be on 15 teams in 15 years, because
that's a great comparison.
Because Malik Willis, that is your future.
Yeah. No.
But LaFleur is showing me he is just up there with as good of a coach as there is in the NFL, and no one's going to tell me anything different.
Yeah, I mean, we both agree Malik Willis is not a very good quarterback. And,
No.
I mean, yesterday, 68% passing, 202 yards, a throwing touchdown, 73 rushing yards, and a touchdown. That you can only attribute to the play calling of Matt LaFleur and the offensive being run by that head coach. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was Tyler Huntley-esque, but it was good. And it's I mean, at the end of the day, if the Packers win the Super Bowl this year, they're going to look back on Malik Willis as saving their season.
Yeah,
because,
100%.
Because by winning that game, they're able to rest Jordan Love another week, which could be so beneficial for them long term.
That's an incredible point. We talked last week about why would they be rushing Jordan Love back. He was listed as questionable. I mean, I would assume they had in their plans the entire time that he wasn't going to come back. They just listed him for strategy purposes against the Titans, which that's smart. That makes sense. Speaking of the Titans, it was a Malik Willis revenge game, even though he was like, no, I'm really thankful for them for drafting me, taking a chance on me. But, you know deep down he wanted to get back, and he did, because, boy, the Titans look bad.
They don't have a lot of talent on defense, and their offensive line, wow, it got destroyed. It got lit up by the Packers. Will Levis still confuses me.
He has 8 turnovers in 3 games. It's incredible, dude.
How many?
8.
That's a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
But he when he walks off the field after a turnover, he still looks like he should be there.
Right. Are we out on mayonnaise and coffee being a positive differentiator for a quarterback?
I just am glad for him that he has that endorsement, because those days are very numbered with how he's playing.
The biggest testament, I think, to LaFleur's play calling is that since Malik Willis became the starter, they have a 56% success rate on third downs this year. That's second in the league, which that is an incredible statistic. And I really think that goes to the game plan and the play calling of LaFleur more so than Malik Willis's quarterback skills.
But also just keeping in mind what LaFleur's had to deal with in the last however many years, dealing with the end of the Rodgers tenure, which everyone knew was ugly. The Jordan Love draft pick, spending 3 years developing him while still having to coach Rodgers and call an offense, and having his development story be a success, I think is one of the best jobs I've seen of a coach in a long, long time. I mean, John Harbaugh did the same thing with Lamar when we drafted him, and they devised a whole game plan around him. Mm-hmm. Doing that, I thought, was as good of a coaching thing as I've ever seen. LaFleur going from Rodgers to Love to Willis back to Love, and looking strong and looking like you belong. It's something that's going to be there for them as the season goes on, and they're going to be dangerous.
And controlling the locker room, not losing them when Rodgers was clearly rebelling against him at least that last year in Green Bay, if not more so. You're right. It was a very good job by LaFleur. Great hire. by the Packers, but all they do is hire great coaches and great quarterback and find good quarterbacks. That's all they do.
Yeah, there's a reason that they've been good since 1991. I mean, they've
You're
been
right.
literally they've been good almost every year since, and they'll continue to do so because they have a proper infrastructure and a proper plan.
Matt, are the Minnesota Vikings the most complete team in the NFL?
No,
I mean, that's a no.
No,
They're
it's
3-0.
early.
They're 3-0. They've dominated two of the teams that they beat, and the other team they beat is the 49ers, who we all thought at the beginning of the season was a Super Bowl contender. They crushed the Texans yesterday, like so much so that you could turn the game off after the first quarter and be like, "Oh yeah, no, that game's done."
It was a disaster for the Texans, that's for sure. It was really the biggest failure I've seen C.J. Stroud ever have.
Yeah, for certain in the NFL.
He got pulled.
So that all being said, Darnold looks like a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Flores is blitzing his ass off right now, confusing every quarterback he comes in front of. O'Connell is calling a great games. I mean, their scoring is up. They have the most. I think Darnold has the most touchdown passes in the NFL. They're 3-0, beating the Texans and the 49ers, who we know are Super Bowl contenders. At least we thought they're Super Bowl contenders. What's the argument that they're not? I'm not going to say the best team because I think the Chiefs. You can't question that. But the most complete team in the NFL.
Well, the Chiefs are more complete.
The most complete team in the NFL. We said earlier their offense is mediocre.
They've won the last two Super Bowls and are 3-0. They're better than the Vikings, Scott.
But
I mean, it's hard to argue about the Chiefs versus the Vikings because it's the Chiefs are going to be the best team in the league until Patrick Mahomes retires.
I understand that. I'm saying right now in the NFL, is there a better team than the Vikings?
There's no team playing better right now. That's for sure. I don't know how sustainable it is at this level. I don't know if they're going to be a 14-win team. Could they? Sure.
They sure look like they're going to be. So are we able to move Kevin O'Connell up as one of the best coaches in the league?
Not yet. Not yet.
I mean, it looks pretty crazy. And what he was doing, what he did with Kirk Cousins the last few years. And now what he's done at the start of this season with Sam Darnold.
He did nothing different with Cousins than Cousins was doing before that.
What do you mean?
Cousins had the same numbers before O'Connell and after O'Connell.
Well, after O'Connell is right now.
Well, I mean, with O'Connell and before O'Connell. After O'Connell, we have yet to be seen. Cousins was like a metronome his whole career. 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns, whatever it is. He's the same year every year, no matter who's the coaches.
So you're not giving O'Connell any credit for this 3-0 start?
Oh no, I think he's a really good coach. I'm just not giving credit for Kirk Cousins because Cousins was already a fully formed NFL quarterback at that point.
So you're still out on the Vikings then. You don't think they're going to be a team to reckon with?
I don't think they can win I don't think Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl. No.
Well, that's the main. I mean, they could go 10-7, 11-6, and Sam Darnold implode in the playoffs. And
I still think they could win the division. I still think they could win the division. They're a really good team. I mean, they're a top-notch team. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to the playoffs, first of all, you have the Vikings' history of ineptitude and bad luck, and just they're basically the Boston Red Sox of the NFL at this point.
They are a snake-bitten franchise. That's for sure.
It's bad. It's bad. Sam Darnold's still their quarterback. You put him against San Francisco in January. I don't know. I can't see it, but he's been awesome so far. So I'm willing to wait and watch.
This brings us to like another overall point. Like, let's put the Chiefs aside because call me in January and we'll talk about the Chiefs. They're going to be there. There are no really good teams in the NFL. Like, nobody has separated themselves. No one is good. I don't think there's
even
one
the
other
Steelers
team that Well, the Steelers, they don't have a quarterback. Who
Right.
cares what they're doing?
I'm not
Who
worried
cares?
I'm not worried about Justin Fields in January. I'm just not.
No, I have no concerns about Justin Fields. I mean, similar to Darnold in the fact that let him go 10-7, 11-6, 12-5. When it matters, he's going to be schemed out of the game in terms of his mentality or his decision making, and the better teams, the better coaches will devise a plan to stop him.
You're right. It makes perfect sense. It's going to be interesting. Aaron Jones looked fantastic yesterday.
Yeah.
Also, as another thing, the offensive line, it's a really good setup, and with an indoor field, they're not going to really have weather concerns for home games. So you never really know.
Aaron Jones looked incredible. Ty Chandler has also looked really good this year too.
Not yesterday.
I had but he's getting really good depth for them this year. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and he didn't do much. But listen, he's a backup running back. He's not going to come in every game and make spectacular plays, but he is providing that break for Aaron Jones. I really do think I can consider them the best overall team in the NFL right now. The Chiefs, you could listen. I'm not. The Chiefs are the best team. They're going to be there at the end. Minnesota might not be there at the end. This is 3 weeks after 3 weeks of the NFL season. The Vikings have dominated two of the three teams they played and beat the 49ers and the Texans. The Chiefs could be 0-3 very easily right now.
They're not.
Matt, do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, but it's completely meaningless. In the sense,
Matt, this conversation is completely meaningless. What are we talking about?
Yes,
we're making up topics to talk about the NFL after 3 weeks. You can't everything we say means nothing.
It's good that we're disagreeing. It's nice. I'm just trying to let you think about what you're doing here, and you're saying that the Chiefs, who are coming off 2 Super Bowls, are 3-0,
right?
Have Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Are not as good of a team as the Minnesota Vikings.
That's not what I'm saying.
You just said the Minnesota Vikings are the best team in the NFL.
No, a complete team. Complete. 3 phases of football.
Well, I like 3 phases of football. Chiefs defense is unreal right now.
I have them on my fantasy team. I'm well aware.
All right. We'll agree to disagree on this one, but in my book, if you ever tell me a team's better than the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes is breathing, I'm going to disagree.
I'm not saying that they're better, though, Matt. I'm saying after 3 weeks.
Well, then I'm saying don't say it.
But I'm not saying that.
Okay, I'm just warning you never to say it.
The people know that I have no tolerance for college football. I don't really like it.
You used to.
I used to. I don't really like it. It's, in my 20s and 30s, it evolved into my Saturday nap situation where I wanted to get a good nap in. Went out hard Friday night, was probably going to go out hard Saturday night. I needed a nap. Needed to nap up. What do? You put on a college football game because who fucking cares about college football, really? Turns out a lot of people do.
A lot of people.
But in spite of my lack of passion for college football, not in spite of, as opposed to my lack of passion in college football, Matt has a strong passion for college football and has ever since I've known him.
Yeah, I've always loved college football. I think it's, when it's right, it's the best thing sports has to offer. When you have a big time game with big time teams and big time coaches in a stadium full of 100,000 people, it's as cool as you get. Especially having been to it and seen it, it's awesome. And you being the person I talk to the most about sports, having no interest in anything I have to say about it, has been driving me crazy ever since you liked, the Vinny Testaverde Miami Hurricanes, or whoever you liked on Miami when you liked Miami.
Yeah. Well, so what Matt came up with, and I think is a really good idea, is we're going to force me to watch one college football team or pay attention to one college football team.
You don't have to watch. You don't have to watch the whole games every game.
Right. Well, but
I do want you at least to watch the 60 and 30s for them.
Okay, that's fair. No, we're gonna pick one college football team for me to track the rest of the season. This being the fourth. This was the 4th week of the college football season. It's 1 week before the NFL, right?
It starts we called week 0.
Right.
There's a good game or two.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So, Matt, do you want to name the 5 teams that you sent me?
Absolutely. And I put a lot of thought into this.
And talk about why you chose the teams.
Absolutely. Oh, no, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I chose 5 teams for a variety of reasons, but one thing they all have in common is they are all at least candidates to go to the college football playoffs this year. So I'm not giving him an Appalachian State and saying, check that out and just become an App State fan. No.
Although they did upset Michigan. It was the biggest upset in the history of college football. I remember that.
I remember being very hungover watching that and being very sick to my stomach. But I didn't know if it was the missed field goal that Michigan had or the overabundance of alcohol the night before.
Yeah.
All right, so my first team. We'll start with your original team that you used to root for, the Miami Hurricanes, the U. Mm-hmm. The U is back. Did you know that? Did you know that the U is back?
I've heard rumblings that the U is back.
Well, Mario Cristobal is a badass who just comes in and recruits like no one's business. This year, they got a transfer quarterback, Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. He's probably the most exciting player in college football.
Where's he from?
Last game he threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. He runs for 50 to 100 yards a game. He's 5'10". He originally started out in, I believe, JUCO.
Okay.
And then he transferred to Washington State, where he spent a couple years and lit it up. And then this is his senior year. He's at Miami. Coach, you've got the history of Miami with you. You've got Mario Cristobal, who's a really, really a coach that you just want to believe in, and also good recruiting classes in 2024 and good recruiting classes and coming up. It's a team that's built for future success.
Okay.
Do you
Miami's
have any
team
questions about the Miami Hurricanes?
No,
Do you have any?
Listen,
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Miami was my team when we were kids, but also your team because you had a Miami Hurricanes jacket that I was very jealous of that you wore for years.
It was my favorite thing, but it was a hand-me-down because I couldn't afford a real starter jacket back then.
Oh, it was fantastic. I didn't know it was a hand-me-down, but it was fantastic.
It was badass, and I wish I still
had
it.
Had the Pelican on that sucker. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the second team. This is the selfish team. This is Penn State. This is the team that I like. Now, I like Penn State because, again, me and you grew up in Maryland, we didn't really have a college football team for the University of Maryland. We still don't really. They're kind of useless. That's why they're not on this list. So when I was a kid, I was such a big sports fan that I wanted to. I literally looked at the map and looked at who the closest team was that was really good, and it was them. Then I had a family member end up going there, and it just built and built and built to where I became a complete diehard Penn State football fan. Love them, like them more than the Ravens, like them more than most things in my life. This year is a do-or-die year for Penn State football. Penn State football has been the ugly stepsister to Michigan and Ohio State for about a decade.
Yeah, they haven't beaten them in 10 years, 12 years.
No, they win every now and then, but they always lose 2 other games. So they've always been ranked like 10th. They're habitual ranked 8 to 10. This is the year that they're probably going to make the playoff, no matter who they win or lose to, Michigan or Ohio State. Now, the cool thing about Penn State is this year, if they don't make the playoffs, their coach is probably going to get fired, and fired quickly.
Franklin, right?
James Franklin. And you've got an NFL caliber quarterback, 2 NFL running backs, Abdul Carter on defense, top 10 defensive lineman. It's a fun team to watch, and not to mention when you start to get into the big games, they're primarily in the evening, under the lights, with really good announcers. So it's an easy watch.
Okay, next team.
Okay, next team. I'm doing this kind of strictly for Arch Manning purposes.
Yeah.
University of Texas. Well, one, you've been to Austin, like the city. Mm-hmm. So that's a big plus. 2, Steve Sarkisian. You know him because he's been around. So
former USC offensive coordinator.
Sure, and former BYU quarterback. And
didn't know that. Don't care.
Not a big deal. They are a loaded roster full of NIL money with the ability to win the national championship this year with Quinn Ewers eventually, and even in the future with Arch Manning and it could start some sort of dynasty. So it is definitely a team that you could start watching this year, and you could have a solid half-decade run with them where you're like, oh, my God, the team I like's in the college football playoffs in the national championship game.
Okay. That's a good option.
It's a good option. Next option is Ohio State.
Oh.
Now, Ohio State would make me very sad as a Penn State fan.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially like rooting for the Yankees.
Right. Which I would never do.
They've been the most consistent college football program for the last 30 years, and it's not even close. No one even touches them because Bama's success comes kind of later in the last 15
years ago. Yeah.
And Georgia's is more in the last 5 years. Whereas Ohio State is there every single year. I said it in our earlier pod. They spend $30 to $50 million a year just on the NIL. So you're getting literally the best prospects in the country lining up across the field for them. Their coach
Eddie
Ryan
George
Day,
and Orlando Pace were big in my fifth grade and sixth grade year.
I mean, it's one of the offense that Ohio State offense back in 93, 94 was right in our wheelhouse for childhood memories, I feel like.
Yeah.
And to have that, not to mention the receivers in 93 were Joey Galloway and Terry Glenn.
Terry Glenn, yeah.
I mean, Ricky Dudley was their tight end, and Bobby Hoying and Kirk Herbstreit were the two quarterbacks. It's
whatever happened to that Herbstreit guy? I don't. Anything? Did he do anything?
It just shows you, though, if they just had a good quarterback, they would have probably never lost.
Right. They just haven't had. I mean, none of it's really translated to the NFL. Really, Justin Fields, sort of. CJ, maybe.
CJ could be the first. CJ could definitely be the first. Who's the fifth team?
The fifth team you picked was Tennessee.
Tennessee, right. So Tennessee was kind of thrown in there. The other four I had reasons for. You have a history with Ohio State. They're awesome. Tennessee, it's because of one man and one man only. The quarterback, Nico Yamaleva.
Oh, I love a Yamaleva.
Yamaleva, you're a Yamaleva.
Hey-oo.
He's the best quarterback prospect I have witnessed. I mean, I thought highly of Caleb Williams too, but he's right there. He's that good. He's 6'6". He has a cannon for an arm. Josh Heupel.
Oh, wait, he's that good?
Yeah, he's that good. Wow. He's a freshman. He's dominating.
Josh Heupel was a quarterback at Oklahoma, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Look at you. Mm-hmm. Look at you. Yeah, so you've got that. You also have the fact that, biggest stadium in the country.
Yeah.
Huge fan base. Tennessee's a great place. But mainly it's Nico. That guy is the truth.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of 5 teams I can choose from. A lot of pressure on me right now. I already made a decision before the pod, but I might switch this up right now. After this Yamaleva.
Now, also, all of these teams are undefeated currently.
Are all the teams likely to make the playoff, or who has the most challenging road as you see it?
The most challenging road to make the playoff would probably, out of those guys, probably Tennessee, just because of the SEC torture chamber.
Right.
It's just if you don't win the SEC and you don't go to what's probably going to happen with SEC is you're probably going to have the 2 teams that go to the championship primarily make it every year, and then possibly a third. You're probably going to see 3 out of your 12 teams, if not 4. But they have a tough road. I think Penn State and Ohio State are pretty safe to get there.
Yeah.
Miami, it's them or Clemson, basically.
You think so? You think Penn State's better than Michigan this year?
Yes. Yes.
Didn't Michigan just pull off a big win?
They did. They have no quarterback. They do not have a quarterback. They have no one functional. Their defense is great, but Texas beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas they went to the Big House and won 31-12. That doesn't happen unless you've got issues.
So the teams are Texas, Penn State, Miami, Ohio State, and Tennessee.
Yes.
For the record, Matt, you're the only 10 I see. All right. I'm going to switch it up because I was originally going to pick Miami.
That's where I thought. That's where I thought you were going to go.
I already told the story of your jacket, your 4th grade Miami jacket, and I should have saved it for the end. for the reveal, but so now I'm going to switch it up. I am going with my boy Yamaleva and Tennessee.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness! Any questions you'd like to ask about your new team?
Well, okay, so a little backstory I didn't tell you. I did watch a decent amount of that Tennessee game on Saturday night.
Oh, okay. And you watched them?
It was Tennessee, Oklahoma, and I didn't really notice him at all. I was just sort of like zoning out, and I had it on just to have it on, and I was like on my phone or whatever. But I remembered who Josh Heupel was, and I saw they crushed Oklahoma.
They beat
they're good.
They beat the crap out of Oklahoma. They're really good.
Yeah, Oklahoma sucks. So I'm going to choose Tennessee, and what we'll do is we'll give we're not going to give it every episode update, but every couple episodes, maybe every other week or something, we'll talk about what they're doing, if I'm following, how it's working out.
And also if there's a big game, we'll talk about it, stuff like that.
But I will consciously now be following Tennessee, and
you got at least so you got this year and next year with Nico, so that's fun.
Yamaleva, where's that dude from?
I believe California. He's got a younger brother, Madden, who's legit too.
Nico and Madden, great names.
Yes, you don't see that often in the Samoan community.
No. Oh, I do. So they were talking about how he looked up to Mariota so much. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, good call.
Okay,
but he's better than Mariota. He has a cannon. Like,
well, Mariota is he in the league right now?
Yes, I think he's on the team.
Okay, he flamed out.
He did okay as a backup a few times over the last couple of years, so I think like he's always going to have a job at least. He seems like a really nice guy, so I root for him to do well.
I do. I do want to just give a quick shout out to Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis. It was the first college football team I ever loved.
They were really good. It was a really good team.
When you have two Hall of Famers like right up the middle of your defense, you're probably going to be a good team.
Yeah, didn't hurt at all. But that Ohio State skill position group is still the best skill position group I've ever seen. Even better than the LSU skill position group from a few years ago.
I do want to play a quick game of, was the world wrong about these NFL players or coaches? We're going to do 5 real quick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about a couple of them, so I'm going to remove them. First one, was the world wrong about Andy Dalton?
What were they saying about him?
He's washed up. He's not that good at quarterback. So you didn't even know the world was talking about Andy Dalton. So I think that might have our answer right there.
I think Andy Dalton's Andy Dalton. I think he's exactly who he's supposed to be. He can do well in the right situations. He's not a long-term answer.
He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday in the same offense that Bryce Young could not get a pass off in.
I know, but it's like a new shiny car. It's great until it rains. You know, like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. He's going to be okay. He's not going to be a disaster like Bryce Young, but he's still Andy Dalton. He was Andy Dalton when he was on the Bengals.
Andy Dalton.
He was still boring, and he still didn't really want him to be your quarterback. He was just kind of always there, and just he's okay.
So your official answer is, wait, the world was talking about Andy Dalton?
Yes.
Okay, great. Number 2, and this one pains me personally. Was the world wrong about Justin Tucker?
I just think it comes a time when you're not going to make every kick anymore. And I think he's just like every other kicker now. Doesn't take away what he did the last 10 years. But
Matt, he's only 34. He's not like he's 40.
Okay, 34, he's not going to put up horrible numbers. He's just not going to make every one of his field goals anymore. That's all.
Yeah.
He's still probably going to make he'll make 85% of his field goals. He'll be fine, but we'll probably have to cut him after this year if he doesn't.
But the world said he was the best kicker of all times. So was the world wrong?
Yes. The world is wrong. Brandon Aubrey is the greatest kicker ever put on earth.
Thank God I chose Brandon Aubrey.
There's nobody who is better at kicking a football than that guy ever. Now, Tucker's great and has definitely had a better career, and I doubt that Aubrey will ever play in meaningful enough games to ever matter more than Justin Tucker has mattered. But that's all. I mean, I think that's my point. Yes. He's still going to he's going to be the GOAT based on what he did in his career, not best on talent. He's not the GOAT. The talent GOAT is Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, he's a stud. Was the world wrong on C.J. Stroud. You mentioned he got pulled from the game last time after a very good, borderline amazing rookie year and a pretty solid first 2 games.
No, I think that Brian Flores completely confused him. I think he completely confused the offense. C.J. Stroud's a stud. That offense is going to be exciting as the year progresses. I think a big part of all of this with all of these teams is the fact that the one last preseason game means no one is playing any preseason games.
Yeah.
At all. So you're kind of seeing that in kind of the gameplay. It's sloppy. It's messy. It's just not. It's not. That's why Andy Dalton having 300 yards and 3 touchdowns is the best day of the. It's the best throwing day of the day. It's crazy.
Was the world wrong about your boy and my boy John Harbaugh?
No, that dude, and I mentioned it earlier. His decision, going way back to say, hey, let's draft this guy and let's reorganize our entire organization, is one of the ballsiest, coolest, badass coach moves ever. Period. He's a fantastic coach.
He's made some real questionable decisions, questionable challenges this year, questionable punts and going for it on 4th downs.
Tell me who you're replacing him with, and I will be okay getting rid of John Harbaugh. If you have somebody who can be a leader of men better than that guy,
Bill Belichick.
No, why would you want a guy 20 years older than him?
All right.
I mean,
just an option.
It's not an option. It's a short-term stopgap Band-Aid. The Ravens have made their entire fortune, and by fortune I mean consistency and wins and butts and seats, off of being able to have a program. Whether it was Billick, whether it was Harbaugh, it's been consistent since 1998. Really, the first 2 years, the Marchibroda stuff was. That doesn't count. that doesn't count, dude. Not dude. Marchibroda don't count. But after that, it's we're not going to get rid of Harbaugh. Harbaugh is part of the fabric of the organization. I think Harbaugh has got at least 10 more years as the Ravens coach.
I'm with you. It's not a time to. The world was not wrong about Harbaugh. He's a great coach. No one's going to be perfect. There have been questionable moves, but I think Harbaugh is a fantastic coach. Okay, last one. Is the world wrong about Deshaun Watson? JK, he's a creep and sucks at football. I just want to make sure we're on the same page there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, our podcast should be titled Deshaun Watson's a creep.
And sucks at football.
I mean, the more I watch him, the more I just really hope that there's a clause in his contract where they can get out of it. And I'd rather him suffer as a person than them suffer as a franchise, and I'm a Ravens fan.
Right. And the Browns notoriously hate all Ravens fans.
Yeah, but maybe we can get a Ravens lawyer in there to figure out a way out of this for them.
Ooh, that'd be smart.
Maybe look, we're trying to help.
Doing our best.
We're doing what we can.
All right, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Another fantastic episode.
Yeah, good job by you.
Like and subscribe to the podcast. Rate us 5 stars. Subscribe on YouTube. Like us on Instagram and Facebook at Monday Night Conversations. And Matt, take care of yourself.
And each other.
And each other.
And each other.
That was good. I'm stopping.